Okay, good evening YouTube and welcome to episode 5 of the FPL Family vlog. My name is Lee, this is Sam, and you in particular are, I would say, fresh out of Wembley, or you've certainly not long been back from Wembley, so how was it today?
Downtrodden from Wembley.
Downtrodden from Wembley, yeah, you weren't particularly happy when you got in today. Tell us about the game then, how was it?
On the train on the way home I was absolutely, annoyed.
Yeah.
Perhaps is the best way to describe it. On reflection now...
Atmosphere sounded great though on the TV.
Look, it was like being at White Hart Lane today. It was there were flags flying.
Was it full? Was it 90,000?
Yeah. There was a few empty seats in what was like the VIP hospitality bit.
Right, okay.
But yeah, I mean it was brilliant down there today. Great atmosphere. It was a great game. Both sides played really well. I thought we deserved something from the game.
I did too. Yeah,
I was frustrated. I think that's the best way of putting it. It was a frustrating game.
Yeah. Thought Chelsea played well though. They were, well organised, disciplined.
It's when you lose a game on, a
defender scoring twice.
well, that and a keeper who's always brilliant, making a little bit of a mistake, and I know Lloris will kick himself for that.
Probably should have saved that one, yeah.
Giving away an easy ball in the midfield, that's what grates on me. But on reflection, Kane 8 shots on target. 8 shots today. He hit the post.
Well, let's come to Kane in a bit. We'll talk about the game in a bit more detail later on, including Mr. Kane, who I know a lot of you guys captained. When are you going next?
I'm there again on the 16th.
16th,
September,
okay. So look out for some
Swansea.
more tweets and some more Instagram photos and videos. Did you post today while you were there?
I did post while I was there, sent some videos, and I think you posted some of my videos onto.
I did. So you guys that are following us on at FPL Family on Twitter and at FPL Family on Instagram would have seen some of the videos and photos from you with your waving your flag and shouting "Come on Spurs!"
Yeah, I think
you turn into a totally different person when you go to White Hart Lane. Is it the same at Wembley?
Not today. I was on my best behaviour today.
Football fan Sam is very different to the Sam you see in front of you. I can tell you.
I was at the home of English football today. I was on my best behaviour.
Right. Okay. Very good.
See what happens on the 16th when we play Swansea.
Very good. Right. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So welcome to another episode, episode 5. Like I said before. So thank you again for all of your likes and comments and tweets. And all of your comments on Sam's Instagram as well. So at FPL Family on both of those media. Remember to subscribe to the video and leave your comments on the drafts and let us know what you think, right? We've got some views on Mr. Kane and how he performed today. I happen to think that goals are imminent for this guy. I think there's only goals around the corner. But tell us what you think. Are you ditching him already? Has he had his stay of execution? Or do you fancy him at home to Burnley? Leave your comments. Let us know. So let's start there. Let's start with Spurs-Chelsea then. We're going to talk a bit about the game we've just had. We'll start with Spurs-Chelsea. We'll talk a bit about the game we've got coming up. So we'll talk about game week 3 as well. I should point out at this stage that we're shooting this on Sunday night when you come in from Wembley. So we won't be able to comment on the Man City versus Everton game, which is due to be on Monday. We can't really do this video any other time than Sunday night, can we? So that's why we shoot it then. We might do a Periscope or something during the game, the Man City game. That might be a thing to do.
We'll either Periscope during the City game or at the end of the City game tomorrow night.
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
We'll get something done because that City game is really quite important in a lot of people's fantasy teams, and it's also a reason why we can't give updated league tables at the moment for the FPL Family League. Because they just haven't been updated yet.
We've got high scores, haven't we?
We have got high scores
this week, so far.
We've got high scorers so far, but it just doesn't seem right to talk about who's top of the league this week because the leagues aren't finished yet, and people like you have got 3 players to go tomorrow. So we'll post those things. We can talk about them on Periscope if it's been updated, or we'll post them and share them on social media, and we might even go live on Twitter again later on in the week. Okay.
So let's talk about what we have seen then. Let's start with Chelsea and Spurs then. So there's only really one place you can start with Mr. Kane, surely.
Okay. So today he had 8 shots. He hit the post. I, along with the rest of Wembley, was on my feet.
Same as last week. You were up and gone.
Actually, worse than last week, I think, this time. And I kind of sat back in my seat in disbelief that the guy, he did everything today. He played really, really well.
Yeah.
The thing that was missing was a goal, and you could see the frustration in him as the game wore on, and that's where the silly mistakes, not just for him, it was across the whole team. Frustration. I thought Dele was quiet in today's game.
Well, that's what I was saying about Chelsea, organised and disciplined. I think they really shut down the space for Ali and Eriksen in the middle there. Bakayoko was working really hard and Kante working really hard.
I agree.
They didn't give Eriksen the space
but then
that he normally has, right?
That's true. But Eriksen had a few set pieces today where he looked... I mean, there was one...
So delivery from set pieces, absolutely. But delivery from open play, I think they were shutting down that space really well today,
100%
Chelsea.
agree. I just think, there was a lot of talk on Twitter and Instagram over the last week about, particularly people were asking my advice on Ali or Eriksen, and I was really on the fence on it a lot of the time because I see the benefits of having both of them.
Yeah.
Dele for goals, Ali for assists, mostly, not exclusively, but mostly. Actually, on reflection today, maybe I've got the wrong one.
Okay. So guys, tell us what you think. You guys will be presumably thinking about getting some Spurs assets in for game week 3. I certainly am. They're at home to Burnley. And actually your Spurs fixtures over the next few weeks do get pretty good actually, I think. Might be one or two tricky ones in there, but they're generally pretty good. So tell us, I guess most people listening will have Kane potentially. And even if you've not got Kane, which other Spurs assets are you getting on, if any? I'm looking at Eriksen myself.
And I think between Dele, if now, having watched 2 games with them both, I would say Eriksen looks more likely in most games, over the course of those 2 games, given that he's on set pieces. His free kicks today were... Like, there was one in the first half, how somebody didn't get anything on it, I have no idea. So out of those 2, at the moment, I'm on Ali. I'm not coming off of Ali. But if you're not on either, and you're looking to either make a change from perhaps KDB, or you're looking to upgrade somewhere else, I'd potentially go for Eriksen over Ali at the moment.
Okay, and a very quick word on Trippier while we finish up on Spurs.
Quick word on Trippier. I
wasn't expecting him to play, actually.
So actually, he can link in with what I'm going to say about Alonso in a minute. So last night I was talking to you about what I was doing about Alonso. Fantasy Football Fix had him all over the place in terms of mass exodus from people's teams, and
off Alonso.
Off Alonso, yeah, and I actually, he didn't go down last night, but they were predicting he was going to, and
I'd love to hear from anybody out there that got Alonso out before the game week deadline.
I would too. But I mean, obviously, these are people that were getting him out on Saturday night.
So okay, so they would have
benefited from today. Yeah. But I was thinking to myself, you've not seen this guy play yet. He's due to play tomorrow, and okay, he's due to play us tomorrow. But with a chap like Alonso in your team, there's always a chance he's going to pop up. And what's he do today? Pops up with 2.
Absolutely.
Now, my original plan, and I nearly did it last night, just because I had the fear that he was going to decrease in value last night, was to swap Alonso for Trippier. Actually, had I done that, it would have been a bit of a disaster, because I'm not now sure if Trippier is going to make the Burnley game next week.
So had you heard yesterday that Trippier was going to play today?
No, on the back of the press conference on Friday, Pochettino had said that it was going to be a late fitness test for Trippier.
Okay.
That he wasn't sure whether it would be Trippier or Kyle Walker-Peters. But I think that it was always looking now on that if Trippier didn't make it this week, he was going to make it for next week. At the end of today's game, though...
So when I was watching on the TV, I think Trippier went down... I think a heavy challenge by somebody, but he kind of immediately signalled to the bench. He did one of those as if to say, I need to come off. He did. So look out for that one, FPL managers. I think Trippier's absolutely good value at 5.4 now because he's taken a bit of a drop. Mm-hmm. But if he's injured, does that bring Kyle Walker-Peters back into the equation?
Well, if he's injured, it will be Kyle Walker-Peters again.
Yeah, sure, right.
And so those of you that did get Kyle Walker-Peters in this week, over the course of the week, because he had high transfer value, stick, I'd say, for now. And certainly until we hear news about Trippier. But in terms of answering the questions that a lot of people are asking about Alonso, I'm definitely sticking now. Okay.
And other Chelsea assets from that game? So clearly, Alonso stands out clearly from that game in terms of the 2 goals. I think a lot of people are going to want him in. Whether they can do that without some major surgery, certainly if I wanted him in, I think my team's got other issues I need to sort out.
Well, I think it was interesting today with Chelsea. I thought as a team overall, bearing in mind that they were playing in what was effectively a makeshift team. Let's be honest, players out of position.
To a degree,
Lots of injuries,
suspensions.
lots of suspensions, or 2 suspensions. So it was a bit of a hit and miss team. It wasn't
Bakayoko debut.
it wasn't what
Rudiger coming in. Yeah.
Wasn't what they would have wanted to have played against us. Let's put it that way.
Possibly not.
And I was looking at it thinking, Chelsea, do I want any more Chelsea coverage? Now, what was really interesting today is that Courtois got 2 bonus points.
Courtois got 2 bonus points.
Now,
okay.
For the team that won the match, for it to be, and he shared those 2. There wasn't one for 1 bonus point. He shared it with Eriksen. Eriksen got 2. So I think that's quite telling in that game.
Did he make saves?
He made 6.
Watching it, I was going to say about 5, 6 saves. Okay, so he get a couple of points for the saves, a couple of bonus points. Suddenly I presume he's on the 6, is he? I guess,
he is,
for the week.
Yeah. Okay. So you've actually just got to think about that in terms of Chelsea as a whole. I don't think there's anyone else I'd be rushing to get in. I might keep a watch on Chelsea.
Morata missed a bit of a sitter, didn't he? Morata in the header in the first half should have scored that.
Alonso was the standout for Chelsea today.
Yep, I agree. Okay. I like the look of Bakayoko as well in terms of his movement in and around that area in the pitch and shutting down the space for your creative players. Is he an FPL asset? I think time will tell.
Looked like he had a bit of a, he's a bit of a hot head maybe. There was a few rash challenges going on from him today.
I don't know if it looked like that in the stadium. It didn't necessarily come across too much on TV.
Okay.
But maybe, look, one to watch. I think it's too early to say on Bakayoko whether he's an FPL asset. Is he going to be an asset for Chelsea? From a kind of Premier League, if you like, real life perspective, yes, I think absolutely looks like a class player. FPL, let's wait and see. So that's Spurs-Chelsea.
So I think perhaps we should move on to the other big game of the game week and talk about Manchester United and their trip to Swansea.
Okay.
Now, I watched that game Lukaku-less, hashtag.
Yeah.
Now, and to be honest, when I watch Man United at the moment, I do have a bit of a fear in me of what's Lukaku going to do next.
Owned by over half the game, right?
I know.
Yeah. And captained by a hell of a lot of people.
53% or something now, 54%.
Yeah.
And keeps going up in value. I was pleased with my transfer from last week. I got, for those of you that didn't see us go live on Twitter in the week, I decided to swap Zaha for Mkhitaryan, which worked well for me.
Excellent transfer. That's worked out really well.
So he got me 10 points this week, which was lovely.
Did you ever think that you would want Pogba over Mickey?
Yeah, so if you remember, before the game started, I had picked Pogba for most of pre-season and I swapped in last minute for Zaha. Interestingly, when I came to make the decision to swap Zaha out again, it was only Mkhitaryan I was interested in doing it for. And I'll tell you why. It's mostly because if you look at the games as a whole, Mkhitaryan is the one throughout the whole 90 minutes that seems to be everywhere. Pogba seems to be a little bit more, he's sitting back a bit in the early stages of the game and he goes at the end. The last sort of 20 minutes or so, Well,
it's interesting. I think Jose's kind of set them up where, certainly in the West Ham game, and I think in the Swansea game too, and United fans, forgive me for saying this, I think 4-0 flattered you a little bit in both of those games, simply because you got to kind of 1-0, 2-0, and they were reasonably kind of dictating the game, but you get to a position at 1 or 2-0, particularly at 1-0 where they were at Swansea. With 20 minutes to go, or 15 minutes to go, and then the opposition thinks, and you could see Swansea doing it as well, they were like, right, we could get something from this game. We can get a point, we can get 3 points, we've got to go and attack. As soon as they go and attack, Jose Mourinho, he does, he had a great comment. What was his comment about letting the horses run free? Did you hear that in his interview?
I did hear that, yeah.
And what he means by that is he's got, your Matic and your Pogba sitting there. But as soon as the other team start to attack, he'll stick another defensive midfield in there alongside Matic. He'll really shore up that middle of the field. And it just allows Pogba to go and do whatever he wants. Mkhitaryan is already, in my opinion, off the leash and causing havoc up there anyway.
Yeah.
But it really allows Pogba to go. Plus, as well as bringing on that centre midfielder alongside Matic, it also brings Martial on. Now, if you are a team that's looking to try and get a point from a game and you're rushing forward, the last thing you want to do is leave space in behind for Martial, right?
Sure.
So that is why Martial has got something ridiculous like 25 FPL points and 26 minutes played, I saw today, which is like bonkers.
Is that right? That's balmy.
Yeah. So Martial, is he an FPL pick? For me, he's not guaranteed starts. So
isn't it?
He's not guaranteed starts, so I don't think he is. But even when he comes on for 20 minutes, he's getting goals because the opposition is leaving that space in behind for him to exploit. So I don't think he is, but could he be? You guys tell us. Is he an option,
And you
Martial?
see, this change in formation that happens late on in the United games, or 2/3 of the way through the United games, is the reason why I wanted Mkhitaryan over Pogba.
He seems to be further advanced on average across the 90 minutes,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. And he got, this week, Pogba, he did score, Mkhitaryan didn't, but then Mkhitaryan has 2 assists for this game week. I'm happy with Mkhitaryan. Would I like both? Oh, I'm thinking about it.
Do you know what? That's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because you haven't got Lukaku. You've got David De Gea, right? Mm-hmm. So that's you've got 2 United slots filled up. Yeah, maybe your third choice Pogba.
And later on, when we talk about the City game and my possible transfers for this week, Pogba is still up there, and Mickey and Pogba, I think if you don't have them, either of them, they should definitely be on your radar.
Yeah, well, I don't have either of them at the moment, but I must admit I'm looking at them pretty closely. A
lot of people that have Lukaku possibly don't have them because they've covered Manchester United with Lukaku.
With Lukaku, yeah.
And so maybe they're looking at covering Spurs or Man City or whoever else in the midfield. But for me, those 2 are looking really strong for Man United.
I think you're absolutely right. So Zaha to Mickey for you worked out fantastically last week with that little cheeky money in the bank that I didn't expect you to have. That was very good. Let's talk about my transfer from last week, which was Zaha to Ramsey, which was infinitely less interesting.
Told you should have gone for Moy, didn't I?
Well, we'll come to Moy in a minute, but let's talk about Stoke and Arsenal. So again, I'm not sure. We were kind of expecting that. I think a lot of people were going for an away Arsenal win there.
I was certainly.
I did think that Stoke would give them some trouble. I didn't think they would be kind of I didn't think Arsenal would go there and walk over Stoke. I think I saw enough from Ramsey to. 2 points this week, so all right, we'll take that one on the chin. But I think I saw enough in Ramsey to suggest that 7 million is good value over the course of the season. He was getting forward. He kind of played instead of El Neni alongside Xhaka. So you guys that got Xhaka in on last week's that was kind of the key bandwagon last week, wasn't it, Xhaka? He seems to be playing a bit more defensive now. Seems to be on corners still, some corners. So you guys that drafted Xhaka in, tell us what you think. Are you keeping? Are you ditching? And you guys that bought Ramsey in, tell us what you think. I happen to think that he played well, got forward a lot. I'm happy to keep for now. 7 million, I think, is pretty good value for an attacking midfield asset in what is effectively a top 4 side in an Arsenal side.
Okay.
I'm happy to keep him. I also think in terms of, I'm not a big believer in coverage, but if you're going to go for Arsenal coverage and going to have someone from Arsenal, I think Lacazette, I think it's too early.
I agree. I think Lacazette has got potential later on in the season. I just don't think he's in the Premier League yet, if that makes sense. I don't think he's quite settled yet. I think he just needs he needs a few more weeks of just... There's better options available for 10 million.
He's very unlucky against Stoke, by the way, because there was a call where he was offside by like millimetres and he smashed it in, so he was a bit unlucky there.
But I think at 10 million, there's better options.
That's the thing. It's the price tag, isn't it? Do you splash out 10 million on him, or do you go for a Firmino at 8, or a Munier at 6, or a Chicharito, which we'll come to in a minute, at 7, or a Gabbiadini? So lots of options there. And Lacazette, not sure he presents value at 10 million just yet. So hold your horses on him would be my opinion. Ramsey, I'm happy to stick. Stoke, talk to me about Hesse up front for Stoke.
Well, Hesse's going to go on my radar this week.
I think that's a very good idea.
I think... Thank you.
Sorry, that came across really patronising, didn't it?
Yeah, let's talk about who got more fantasy points this week.
Oh, no, stop it.
So, Hesse, I thought he looked absolutely fantastic in that game.
I think he'd only been in the country like a day or two.
About 5 minutes,
Kind of flew in that morning or something ridiculous. And Hughes was like, right, you're on, son.
Scored on his debut. That's not an easy thing to do in the Premier League. Against a team like Arsenal, he's definitely one to watch.
Crucially, I think we're about to make the same point. Are you going to say he's a midfielder?
Yes, I was about to say.
6 million midfielder, right? This guy's playing up front for Stoke. I don't think any of us are expecting Stoke to do 3 and 4 nils, but if this guy can, get some regular goals, he's potentially a free scoring midfielder for 6 million.
And you're talking about here your 4th midfielder, really, if you're at 6.
In that bracket, you probably are. Yeah, you probably are.
So for somebody that's going to be your 4th midfielder, I think that is potentially a really
fantastic
good option.
Value, right? What are Stoke's fixtures looking like?
Right, well that's the issue. So actually they have got some really tough games coming up, which is why I'm thinking, I'm not sure about him.
Let's have a look at Stoke. So West Brom away, that's tricky. Man United at home, tricky. Newcastle away, Chelsea home, Southampton home. Yeah, at best that's a mixed bag, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm not sure that now is necessarily the right time to jump on a Hesse bandwagon. But what I will say is, I think if you come into the Premier League and start like that,
stick him on the radar.
He's
Absolutely.
definitely got to go on the radar.
Another one for the radar from the Watford game. So let's talk to me about Watford. So they beat Bournemouth 2-0. Let's just get rid of this battery thing. There we go.
Now, I'm really surprised at Bournemouth this season. Just before we move on to Watford, I was expecting Bournemouth to be better this season than they have been.
Slow start for Bournemouth, isn't it?
Very slow start. Yeah. I've obviously got Charlie Daniels in my team doing not very much at the back at the moment. But on the other hand, Watford looked really promising, I thought, yesterday.
Absolutely.
Richarlison in particular.
Well, he looked good against us, actually. I think he was the guy that whipped in the corner for the equalising goal in the 90-whatever minute.
Correct. And it didn't go down as his goal in the end.
No, because it was bounced around a few different people.
It did,
but
that's right.
I mean, I kind of saw him in that game and I thought, oh, he looks all right. So therefore paid more attention to him this week. This guy's lightning quick, right? I think he's a under 20 Brazilian international.
That's right. He's only owned by 0.4% of the game at the moment, so he's a
real
differential.
Real differential. Okay.
He's not an unknown quantity in that he's been on the watch lists of Chelsea and Manchester United, but he nearly went to AC Milan earlier this summer. AC Milan.
How's he ended up at Watford?
Well, so
sorry, Watford fans.
What are you saying about poor old Watford? They're in AC Milan's class, surely.
Oh, wow.
So
Vicarage Road or the
So the reason he ended up at Vicarage Road was that this guy's never played outside Brazil. So he's got no European football pedigree behind him.
Okay.
And I think AC Milan and Chelsea and Manchester United all kind of felt that it was a little bit too much of a gamble on something.
Okay.
That had no experience, no history behind him. Watford took a gamble. Well, I don't really know if it was a gamble for Watford.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure even how much they paid for him. Right. I'm not sure whether he's on loan or what.
I can tell you because I wrote it down. They paid 11.2 million for him.
Look at you with your stats. Fantastic.
The guy speaks no English. No English.
Is that a Watford record signing?
I think
it's got to be close to, right? If not,
I'm not sure about that, but I would have thought it's up there. Yeah.
So he's going to play this guy.
He's certainly going to play. He's 6 million in the game.
Okay.
So he's in that bracket again that we keep talking about. A little bit more expensive than GW2, but he's in there with those Moy, JWP, those players.
Watford looking all right. Good start to the season, right?
Yeah.
Like Silver's building something there. I actually like him as a manager, young manager, doing a lot of the right things, I think, tactically as well as man management and sort of getting the best out of his players. Bringing in players like Andre Gray, I think it's a very shrewd signing. Richarlison, I appreciate what you're saying about he's on top clubs' radars. First I'd heard of him, to be honest, I'd not really heard of Richarlison much at all, but he looks lightning fast. He looks, skillful, quick, bit of power as well. Looks like he could get on the weights a little bit, but looks as if he can shrug off Premier League defenders. So one to watch, definitely for the radar.
Well, he's going on my radar. He would be right in the middle of the radar had he not got some difficult fixtures coming up. So playing Brighton at home this week, I think that'll be fine. But then moving on, game weeks 4 and 5, it's Southampton away, City at home. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, starting to get a little bit tough.
Bit tougher.
But I certainly think Richarlison should be on your watch list. He's on my radar.
On the radar, cool. All right. So much to discuss from Bournemouth in that game, other than they're having a tricky start. I expected Fraser and Daniels down that side to really rip it up against Watford because Watford were struggling a bit defensively.
And I can't believe that Watford are going to play like this all season. I'm expecting a resurgence from Bournemouth.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I think he'll be given time to get it right. Obviously, Eddie Howe, but they do need some results pretty quickly. I'm just going to check and see what they're doing in terms of games coming up because, oh my goodness, right? Okay, so Bournemouth next few fixtures: Man City at home, Arsenal away, Brighton at home, Everton away, Leicester at home. Bournemouth fans, it doesn't get much more difficult than that after I think back-to-back defeats to start the Premier League off in game weeks 1 and 2. Let us know your thoughts on that. If it were me, I would be swerving Bournemouth assets left, right, and centre.
I hadn't actually. To be honest, I knew they had City coming up. I didn't realise it was quite so tough. But
you've got Daniels,
I've got Charlie Daniels, so maybe I've got an issue there I've got to deal with, as well as my other issues that I've got to deal with. Let's add him to my pile of problems that is just growing up here.
All right. So what else do we need to talk about?
Let's just quickly. talk about Huddersfield and Newcastle, because my jammy pick this week...
I come in, didn't it?
He came up trumps, didn't he?
Aaron Moy, get in there.
So Aaron Moy...
Great jammy pick.
Got 10 points this week, scored a goal.
That's how jammy picks work, by the way, guys. To just picks it out of nowhere. Although, to be fair... I say pick it out of nowhere. We had a really good season in the Championship last year. Looked, pretty good despite the defeat. No, sorry, they didn't. They lost. They won in game week 1, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
they're like top of the Premiership or something.
Yeah, Huddersfield are flying, right? I need to get on those guys. And again, you called it as a jammy pick. I was toing and froing between him and Ramsey all game week. Clearly I went for Ramsey.
It's what you need to listen to your wife.
That's the moral of this story. Listen to your wife. So go on then, Aaron Moy.
So he scored 2 bonus points, 10 points overall.
10 points.
Brilliant. Yeah, and do you know what's really frustrating is I've just told you to listen to your wife. I didn't even listen to myself.
You didn't put him in.
No, because I've got Mounier, and so I didn't. At that stage, I was a bit like.
Huddersfield double up is brave, isn't it?
Yes,
it would be. It would be.
Or is it stupid? Like you can't.
It doesn't look stupid. It just looks brave right now.
Yeah.
Their fixtures are great going forward. So.
And actually, if you look at Moy, and you were just talking about him coming out of the Championship, he's playing a lot further forward this season. So having done my research on him over the last. Since I called him as my jammy pick, there were 15 team passes that led to his goal on
Huddersfield
Saturday.
fans, you've got to be happy with that, haven't you?
15
got to be happy
passes,
with that.
That is a fantastic team effort. Yeah, it was a lovely finish from Moy. I'm pleased with my jammy pick, and I just think Huddersfield, old Championship game, and Newcastle. Sorry, that was earlier today, wasn't it? Newcastle. 2 losses.
Not much to report from them. I think, Shelvey going in the first game, that's clearly not the way you'd want to start a season with your captain getting sent off. Some of their FPL assets like Atsu, not really doing it right now. Perez, not really doing it. So, I remember Rafa coming out a few weeks ago and saying he's not quite got the signings that he wanted in the window. He wasn't massively happy with the business that's been done. So, work to do, I think, at St James's, don't you?
I agree. Just to finish up on this game then, Moy's staying on the radar this week. If you haven't got him, I think it's worth a look at.
James Ward-Prowse to Moy.
James Ward-Prowse to Moy, that's got to be a popular decision. Huddersfield, home again this week, coming to Southampton. Southampton are shipping goals, so...
Funny Southampton, aren't they? Because 0-0 in the first game week against Swansea, potentially a bit unlucky with some of their chances, and then 3 goals against 10-man West Ham. Sorry, Hammers fans, but it doesn't feel as if it's too difficult to score against your side right now, particularly with 10 men. So I'm not going crazy for Southampton attacking assets, but I think Huddersfield-Southampton game could be certainly one to watch next week for sure.
Okay, so shall we move on to Southampton and West Ham then, just quickly? Because on my radar, I'm going to have Chicharito.
I think absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Now, I was very wary of Chicharito.
Did you have him in any of your drafts over the summer?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I did.
I had him for a while, not for a huge amount of time, but I did have him for a while. Now, this week that we've just had, I was having a conversation with a guy on Instagram, and I will tell you, his name's Ben. Ben DM'd me privately and asked my opinion on Chicharito and Gabbiadini and Vardy. And we spent quite a long time back and fro about them. And I said I felt that Chicharito was a good fantasy option, but I was very worried about picking a West Ham player at the moment, having watched the game the previous week.
Yeah,
and lack of service to him. He just didn't seem to have the service. This game week, he had a lot more service, and look what's happened. He scored 2 goals.
Well, yeah, and they were classic Hernandez goals as well, weren't they? They were he is the ultimate fox in the box, and the United fans will testify to this. Doesn't feel like he's lost any of that natural instinct as a player. I think he's lethal. I remember saying on a couple of episodes ago of the FPL Family vlog that he is something like the 3rd or 4th most lethal Premier League striker ever in the Premier League. And by that we mean goals to minutes played. And I think, I can't think of what the top 5 looks like, but Aguero's up there, Kane's up there. And then kind of 4th or 5th is Javier Hernandez.
Oh, I remember him talking about that, didn't he? He spoke about that before the game last week.
So I think he's one to put on your radar, absolutely, because he's, 7 million?
Yes, and to follow that up, next week West Ham are travelling up to Newcastle. Now, Newcastle are... Sorry, Newcastle fans, but at the back you are shaky at best at the moment. So losing your two defenders last week against us, you're now down to kind of the bare bones. Now I actually do have your bare bones. I've got Mbemba,
You got Mbembo.
Yeah, well, if you remember, I had Rangel, and then somebody was saying to me, "Oh, don't have Rangel because he's going to plummet in ownership when he doesn't play." So I switched to this Newcastle no ownership guy. Actually, now he's playing because they've got nobody else.
So Mbemba's a 4.0 playing Newcastle defender.
He is at the moment, yeah.
Okay, that's one to look out for, given that their fixtures look actually not too bad over the next few weeks.
But my point is that West Ham going there next week, playing against definitely not a full-strength Newcastle team, and a Newcastle team that haven't looked great since they've arrived back in the Premier League.
But I mean,
Chicharito, I think, could have some good service there.
Yeah, but let's be careful with West Ham, right? I mean, they got smashed by United.
I'm not saying that West Ham are suddenly going to become,
7 goals in 2 games.
They're not going to become Barcelona overnight, but I think...
Suspect at the back, I think, potentially.
If you give Chicharito the service, he will score you goals. And as a fantasy asset, he might be worth a punt. So
you're putting him on the radar middle?
So he's going on the radar. Middling.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Like you just said, I think West Ham, they're as a team, I wouldn't be banking on them. But as an individual player within that team, it's worth a punt, I think.
Okay, I think we're pretty much there in terms of key FPL action for this game week. We haven't spoken about Leicester, so let's just talk very quickly about Leicester.
Okay.
Mr. Mahrez, a couple of assists, I think.
Right, so two players for me from that game that I'm considering and they're sticking on my radar. Mr. Mahrez is one of them. I felt, and I don't know what you thought, but I thought he looked much more like the Mahrez of old yesterday.
Do you know what? I'm a big fan of his, and I appreciate he's got lots of awards in the last couple of years, particularly in the year they won the league, clearly. Mm-hmm. I've often thought he's a little bit of a show pony. Sorry, Leicester fans, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think he's one of those players that likes the big occasion. He likes to put himself in the window.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, maybe we're going to get some FPL points from Mahrez in the next few weeks before the transfer window closes, and then September the 1st we'll get nothing out of it.
We've only got one more game week, haven't we?
Yeah, but so it's hard to disagree with you. I think he 2 assists at the weekend. Looking, if not back to his best, then that's certainly going to help him get back to his best. Leicester looking pretty good. A bit unlucky to lose to Arsenal 4-3 in the first game week on that opening Friday. It looked pretty solid when they beat Brighton at the weekend, although Brighton seemed to, a tricky start for Brighton. But Leicester City fans, tell us what you think. I think Vardy went off with a bit of a knock, so let's wait to see on Vardy news whether he's injured in the long term or not. But look, Okazaki's banging him in, Mahrez is looking good.
And the other one from my radar is Maguire.
Okay, and at the back they're looking okay?
So a defender that's... pushing up, like if you saw him during the game, he looked really promising, really good positioning, really good thinking about what was happening in front of him, good understanding of the game from him, and a real threat at set pieces. He's quite built for a guy that doesn't really look quite built.
Yeah, makes you wonder why or how Hull went down, right? Because I mean, Robertson looked quite good for us in Moreno's position, although I think I would look good against Moreno in that team. I'm not going to go there anymore with Moreno. So Robertson looked good for us at the weekend. Maguire looks good for Leicester. How did Hull go down? I mean, they've got a couple of very good young English players there. Have we spoken about Liverpool? We haven't really much, have we? But so let me just very quickly summarise that game. Rotation nightmare up top. I think it's testament to how much Klopp likes and values Firmino as a player. Because I thought he would maybe drop out for Origi or a Solanke. He put Sturridge in that position in the end, but he moved Firmino wide and dropped Salah. And he put Mane back on the right. So I just showed you how much Klopp likes Firmino. So if you've gone Firmino and you're worried about rotation, I think stick with him. I think he's Klopp's favourite. He looks to still be on penalties, although we didn't get, we did have Milner on the pitch at the weekend and we didn't get a feel for whether it's going to be him or Firmino going forward. But if you've got Firmino, I would hold, unless you're looking to downgrade for funds in the midfield, of course. And then with the other guys, Mane looks, he looks a very, very important player for us. Very important player. I read a quote earlier that said, Coutinho is our best player, but Mane is potentially our most important. And I agree with that. I think Mane is so important to the way we play. Salah looked good when he came on. And actually, it wasn't until he dragged off Sturridge and put Salah back on and we went back to that front three with Firmino up top that worked quite well for us, attacking-wise anyway, against Watford and against Hoffenheim, that actually we started to look like a cohesive unit again. So, a bit of a rotation nightmare with Liverpool. I think it's always going to be that way. But if you've got Firmino, I would stick. If you've got Salah, I would stick. And if you've got Mane, I would stick. It's just a case of sticking with which one you think is going to deliver the points long term. and not trying to chase the points around, because that's going to be when you start going to take hits and lose out on points.
And I think that is exactly right. And I think this week is obviously going to be another challenge, because you've got the second leg of Hoffenheim, and then you're going into the Arsenal game. But after that, then there's a bit of a break, isn't there, before if you qualify, before Champions League main starts.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think it's like the 16th and the 24th or something of September.
But we've got Arsenal and then we've got City away, so be wary of jumping on Liverpool assets, I would say.
But what I mean is that the rotation risk kind of ends for
maybe.
a little while before the Champions League starts.
Yeah, maybe.
Proper. I think the only other thing to say in terms of rounding up the game week, Burnley, West Bromwich Albion, not much to say really there. Took 70 minutes for there to be a shot on target in that game.
Wasn't a great game, was it? And how Robson Kanu, what's he thinking there? I know he's got the match winner, but silly red card, really.
I am going to just stick Matty Phillips on my radar though.
Okay, go on then. So
assisted the goal for Kanu this weekend.
Right, okay. I quite like that as a pick, by the way, because last season, back end of last season, he was pretty good, Matty Phillips. I had him for a while.
And some quite nice fixtures coming up. So Stoke at home next week, Brighton away, West Ham at home.
I quite like that actually, Matty Phillips. All right, tell us what you think, guys.
He's going on the radar. So I think this game week it threw up some interesting things. So we've got Hesse, we've got Mahrez and Maguire, Chicharito. If you haven't got any midfield coverage at Manchester United, Mickey or Pogba, Richarlison, Moyes staying on there, potentially Trippier if he's fit, and then Matty Phillips on the radar this week.
Okay, some good, and not obvious picks in there. I really like Matty Phillips. That's a good one. Okay, let's very quickly talk about our teams then. I'm going to do mine in about 10 seconds because I definitely don't want to dwell on it. Yeah, I do need comforting. I'm on 23 points. Didn't take any hits, thank God. 23 points. Big game for me tomorrow night in terms of City. I've got Aguero captain. I've got John Stones. I've got Kevin De Bruyne as well. So I need a big game from City, certainly from an FPL perspective, to even make it a respectable week for me. Given that game week 1 was actually all right, I got 81. So I think I'm kind of levelling out at somewhere about 700 or 800k. So not my finest hour this game week, but
it's not over yet.
But I'm trying to stay positive. Yeah, go on. How'd you get on?
So I had a better week this week. So I'm currently on 42, but my game week, to be honest, was saved by 3 players. Alonso is 16, Mkhitaryan at 10, and then De Gea on 6.
The Mkhitaryan sub's a great shout.
So the Mkhitaryan sub massively paid off for me. I'm quite pleased. I'm disappointed with my Spurs assets again, but we've got Burnley next week, so I'm not getting off of them. I've got issues with JWP that I've got to fix, because I really don't think that JWP is going to be starting moving forward, so that's an issue.
Looks like Lamina could be first choice there. Yeah,
I think so. I've got issues to deal with Charlie Daniels, because I'm worried about Bournemouth. I think he's a decreasing value waiting to happen.
So I think what we'll do is we've done this video on obviously a Sunday night. We've got the Man City game to go on Monday. We might even do a Periscope during that game, and we might do one later on next week as well to talk about our transfers. Simply because I think I'm hearing from you that you're not set on what your transfer is going to be. I'm certainly not either. And
I tell you why. I tell you the main reason I'm all over the place is because of KDB.
Yes, I mean in my head I was. All week I've been thinking, even before game week 2 started, I was KDB to Eriksen. That was going to be my game week 3 transfer. If KDB performs, then do I do it? I don't know. Plus I've got other things I need to sort out. I think the James Ward-Prowse thing needs sorting out.
And KDB I've obviously got him to play tomorrow, so I'm not done for my game week. And he was going to be, I tell you, I was actually going to do 2. I was going to change Alonso down to Trippier, and then that was going to free up some more money around the midfield.
Okay.
So I'm all over the place. So yeah, I think a Periscope later on in the week will be a good idea.
Okay, so look out for that, guys, on Twitter. We'll come up with a Periscope in terms of talking about our transfers for next week. For you guys that are already thinking ahead to game week 3, Spurs look as if they've got a fantastic fixture that you're probably going to want to captain either Kane if you've got him or one of the Spurs assets.
But do remember it is still August.
Well, what? So Kane's hoodoo will continue, and it's Wembley. Oh goodness. Okay.
And 34 games in August in the Premier League.
Yeah, but listen, I think there's goals coming for Kane. If you've got him, do not sell him, would be my opinion. I think the goals are coming. 14 shots for Kane so far this
34 shots in 12 Premier League games in August.
Okay, and so far this season, 14 shots. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain 9, Redmond and Rashford 8, What's the common denominator between those four?
No.
No goals yet for the top four Premier League players that have had shots on goal. So goals imminent, I think, for Kane. Be a brave person that would back against him to net against Burnley at home. So I would think get your captain picks onto Kane. Let's talk about game week 3 then. Where do you see the fantasy points in game week 3? Let's just pick a couple of fixtures that you think might deliver. Let's talk about United and Leicester.
Well, I think that would be a really interesting game, actually. So that's one of the TV games. I think that's the Saturday evening game. I think it will be a Manchester United victory, but I do not think Leicester will concede 4 goals. I don't think they'll capitulate them in the way that they have done with Swansea and West Ham. I think it will be a much tighter game. I think Leicester are a much sturdier opposition. But I do think if Vardy is injured, that will make a massive difference in that game.
I think so too. Yeah, I think I would back United at home at Old Trafford. I think they look pretty imperious there. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think Leicester will create different sorts of problems to West Ham and Swansea. I can't see it being a 4-0. I don't think it will be.
No, I don't.
I think Leicester are a bit more resolute than that. I would go United win. It'd be interesting to see who's captaining Lukaku and who's captaining Kane next week. I think they seem to be the two most obvious choices. I'm trying to think if there's other games in the game week where there may be captain picks. Let's have a look. So,
There's City have got to go to Bournemouth. So Bournemouth are terrible at the moment. So City players,
could be right there. He could have something. Could be on something. Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've got. I know you're talking about Spurs coverage, but obviously you've got 3 City players going into that game as we speak. So you've got Aguero and KDB, who surely have got to be up there with thoughts in terms of captaincy. Because I can't see that going any other way other than a big City victory that game.
Okay, yeah, Bournemouth have looked a bit shaky, to say the least, to start off. Eddie Howe won't want to go down 3 games in a row, and we've already spoken about how their fixtures really tighten up for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. So, could look a bit bleak for Bournemouth, kind of middle to end of September, based on the fixtures they've got. You would have expected them to get something certainly out of the Watford game that we've just seen.
Agreed.
So yeah, tell us what you think, Bournemouth fans. It could look a bit bleak for you going forward, but so certainly there's a captain pick and there's some fantasy points there for Man City owners of Man City players in that game.
Potentially a team with low fantasy coverage that might do well this week. Watford, Brighton aren't looking like they're up for much. Watford have looked good in their last 2 games, so some Watford coverage there. I think there could be good fantasy points coming out of Watford in that game.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Brighton looking a little bit shaky. I mean, losing at home to City is, you can kind of forgive that, can't you? But then if you look at the way that they played against Leicester, away at Leicester again is not an easy game. Don't get me wrong. So they've had 2 quite tricky ties there. So to go away to an informed Watford now, 3 on the spin for Brighton potentially. So yes, I think there could be some points there. I don't think you're going to captain anybody from that game.
No,
I wouldn't. Clearly, you've got
so.
Maybe get some picks in there.
The other game that I think could be high scoring in terms of attacking fantasy points. Sorry to say it, but Liverpool and Arsenal, neither looking very good at the back, but both looking strong moving forward. Now, obviously, you've got the added complication. We've already spoken about Hoffenheim in the week, but I still think that there is enough in your, Mane, Salah, Firmino. And then on the flip of that, we've talked about Ramsey and Lacazette and those players. So there's a lot of strong attacking players playing against each other in that game with 2 not so great defences behind them. So could be some high scoring game. I
think Liverpool lacked a bit of creativity against Crystal Palace. They got the Hendersons and the Wijnaldums and players like that in the middle. They're solid players, but not that creative. We certainly missed that spark that a Lallana or a Coutinho gives you. Absolutely, we had pace, with the likes of Mane playing, and in the end he got the goal. Tough call, that one. Tough call. I agree with you. There's Arsenal looking very hit and miss.
No clean sheet, either one.
You think there's goals for both sides?
I think there's goals for both sides. I think it could be 2-0, 2-2, 2-1, 2-2, 3-3.
Yeah, certainly Arsenal coming off the back of losing to Stoke won't want to slip up again.
Otherwise, Wenger out would be
be another campaign.
Again.
Yeah, it'll be another campaign. And then they did beat Leicester in the end 4-3, but it was a tight run thing. So it could be you could be right. Could be some points in there somewhere.
And you'd be struggling to look past Spurs as captain choices, I think, against Burnley.
I think so. Let's talk about Chelsea-Everton very briefly. That's the Sunday afternoon. That's 1:30 kickoff on the Sunday.
But it's not televised, that game.
Oh, not on the TV, Chelsea-Everton?
No. So it's strange. On Sunday, there's 4 games. So Chelsea and Everton's on the same as West Brom and Stoke.
Not televising West Brom and Stoke,
They are, yeah. And then Liverpool Arsenal is obviously being televised over Spurs and Burnley.
Right, okay. So Chelsea-Everton, again, let's see what Everton do against Man City tomorrow night. Like I say, we're going out, or at least recording this before that game. So I'd be interested to see how Everton do against Man City. Again, Chelsea, if they can be as disciplined and as organised as they were tonight, this afternoon, I should say, against Spurs, then you can see some joy for some of the Chelsea assets there as well.
Yeah, and Pedro coming back into the game today, if he's fitter and he's going to play more of that game, potentially, I don't know. We'll see how Everton get on tomorrow, like you say.
Okay, so a quick glance at the FPL Family League. Like I say, obviously still got the City game to go. Blues FC are coming in at 72 points so far.
Wow, great
so far this week, and I think they've got 1 or 2 maybe City players to even go. So
don't know. We don't even get to that if we had our 2 scores together this week.
God, don't say that. That's not what the viewers want to hear, is it?
Oh no, we do. I think.
But I'm looking at the team now, and this is Anand Pillai. So well played, Anand. He had Pogba, Lukaku captain, Chicharito, great pick. Had Alonso. That's 15-12 for Lukaku captain, 13 Chicharito, 16 Alonso. Good effort, great week, 72 points. So it's going to take some. He's going to take some beating to be manager of the week this week.
And we will update you on who our manager of the week is and the leagues as soon as the game week is finished.
Yeah, we'll probably do it on Periscope, but we'll also tweet it and we'll Instagram it. So let's talk about your Jammy pick for this week then. Who are you going to pluck out of obscurity?
Richarlison.
Okay, yeah, I like it. Okay, I thought you were going to go Matty Phillips actually, because that really was left field. But okay, Richarlison.
Yeah, I think
definite differential, 0.4 ownership.
0.4 ownership. Watford have got a nice fixture in game week 3. I just think he's got potential to get a couple.
Like it. Okay, 6 million midfielder.
Yeah. And like we talked about already,
pick.
I think there's a lot of people, myself included, who are looking for an upgrade on GW2.
And Watford are playing Brighton at home. Points there for Watford. Points, I think. Yeah, good Jammy pick. Top pick for me this week. I mean, I have a far easier job than you do. Jammy picks are quite hard to pick out of obscurity, but Mr. Lukaku and Mr. Kane. Clearly United and Spurs are going to be where you're looking for your points this week. United at home to Leicester. Like I say, I don't think it's going to be a 4-0. I think Leicester will be a different kind of proposition. So I'm going to look at Spurs. I think first game week. It was interesting, was it? Newcastle kind of held you for a bit, and then Shelvey did his stupid stamp, and you then kind of went a bit wild after that. Chelsea kind of shut down the spaces for your creative players, and did a bit of a job on you. But nevertheless, you look at the stats for the game: shots on target, possession, passes in the final third. Spurs were ticking all those boxes, and I think deserve something from the game today. So I'm going to go for Spurs. I'm clearly going to go Harry Kane. Who's
that?
I'm going to go Harry Kane for top point scorer next game week. That won't come as a shock to most of you.
That's a shock to me, as you've been wanting him to do nothing for the last 2 weeks.
Well, listen, when I was tinkering throughout the summer, I had Man City to do well up until game week 3. Then I was all set to flip a lot of my Man City assets to Spurs and go Aguero to Kane and go KDB to Eriksen. That's what I was always planning to do. As it happens, you guys have been a bit hit and miss. Kane's been a little bit hit and miss. City are doing well. Let's see how they do tomorrow night against Everton. So I might not want to be quite as cut and dry as that. But from game week 3 onwards, your fixtures, Spurs fixtures, take a real good turn for the better. So if you're on Kane, stick. Captain in for game week 3. I think he's going to be him and Lukaku as the key picks for captain. I'm going to have him down as my top point scorer. And or an Eriksen, an Ali, a Trippier, players like that are also going to add to your points tally over the next 5 weeks for Spurs. I think it's time to get on the Spurs assets.
Okay.
All right. So Jammy pick Richarlison, top pick Kane. Transfers we're not sure. We're going to do a Periscope later in the week, and we're going to talk about it.
Later in the week. Maybe Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
Thursday night possibly, but we'll let you know.
Okay. One last thing before we go. I know there's a guy, Andy, who tunes in. His Twitter handle is Pathetico Morbid. Great name, by the way, Andy. Man United fan, so really upset with the shirt that I was wearing on the last FPL Family vlog because I was wearing my Liverpool shirt.
My eyes.
He was saying his eyes were burning. So just for you, Andy, I've worn my retro 1960s Liverpool shirt. This one's just for you, mate. Hope your eyes aren't burning this week either. On that note,
on that bombshell,
that's it from us. We'll be doing periscopes throughout the week on our transfers. We'll be talking about the Man City game. I think we should do it during the Man City game. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? If we do a periscope and Aguero scores as my captain, that'd be worth watching.
Yeah, it would be worth watching, that is for sure.
Cool. All right, that's it for another week on the FPL Family vlog.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share us on Twitter and Instagram.
Absolutely. So look forward to talking to you on Twitter. Look forward to talking to you on Instagram, and we'll see you next week.
Take care,
Cheers.
guys. Bye.